I'm Gayatri Venugopal. I am an assistant professor at Symbiosis International University, India. While I'm teaching, I'm also doing my part-time PhD from the same university. And this presentation is part of the study that I'm doing under the supervision of Dr. Dhanya Pramod from Symbiosis International University. So before I begin, there are a few examples in a political context here. So these examples do not indicate our preference or our opinions. We have taken figures from duly cited sources. So let's begin. I'll just turn off my video during the presentation and I'll turn it back on for the Q&A session. So, lexical simplification of Hindi text. Before we talk about lexical simplification, let's look at a few examples that will help in understanding the context of lexical simplification and the broader area which is called text simplification. So these are tweets from an Indian politician, Dr. Shashi Tharoor. His vocabulary shot to fame when he expressed his discontent with a journalist's work by posting this first tweet in 2017. So, is exasperating farrago of distortions, misrepresentations, etc. Now, after he posted this tweet, the word farrago, which was a very uncommon word, it became hugely popular. And since then, getting frequent glimpses of Dr. Tharoor's extensive vocabulary. So as you can see, the second tweet, this is a recent tweet in which he's praising an author in his own style on the author's request. So here you will see more words that are difficult not just to understand, but even to pronounce. You have this word, you have rhodomontade, and there are many other words that we're not familiar with. So now these tweets were made in humor, but these are the kinds of texts, these are the kinds of words that need simplification in order to understand the meaning that they intend to convey. Now here's another example, again in a political context. This analysis was published by Bloomberg Quint, where they analyzed the complexity of the nomination acceptance speeches made by Donald Trump and Joe Biden. So as you can see, the first one, this is the flesh reading ease. So this is a readability measure that tells you how easy it is to understand a particular sentence. So as you can see, it was 60% for Trump and 72.3% for Joe Biden. So the closer it is to 100, the easier it is to understand the text. Similarly, if you look at the length, Donald Trump's speech was nearly twice as long as Biden's speech. So this is another parameter that we look at when we try to simplify sentences, that your sentences should be short. So these values indicate that Biden's speeches were more plain as opposed to that of Trump. And in order to make the content that we produce, in order to make that plain, we need to simplify the content. So this is where text simplification comes into picture. Text simplification is the process of modifying a text in such a way that it becomes easier for the readers to understand while preserving the meaning of the text. So we're not really summarizing the text, we are just modifying the words that we use, or probably we could also modify the structure of the sentences. And as you can see, now these are the applications of text simplification. And at the bottom, you will see the languages in which text simplification has been used. So as you can see, there has been a significant amount of work in English, French, Spanish, and many other languages. But there is no substantial work done in Hindi, which is a language that is spoken widely across. It is spoken widely across the world also. It comes in the top 5 most spoken languages, and it is one of the languages that is spoken widely in India as well. So I am working on lexical simplification, which basically means that we simplify words by replacing complex words that are difficult to understand, with simpler synonyms without changing the structure of the sentence. So we are not modifying the grammar, we are not splitting the sentence, we're just finding out which words are difficult to understand and replace them with synonyms that would be easier to understand. So this is a typical lexical simplification pipeline. This was originally proposed by Dr. Matthew Shardlow in 2013, and what you see here is an adaptation of the pipeline. So if you see, you have a sentence, you identify the complex word or multiple words in that sentence, find out what all synonyms could you replace this particular word with, and then select the apt synonym, and then substitute the word with that synonym. This is a typical pipeline. So what we would be looking at in this talk is this first phase, which is the complex word identification phase. Now, most of the work done in this field were submissions to shared tasks, contests that were organized at various NLP, natural language processing conferences and workshops. So I have analyzed data from this complex word identification shared task held in 2016, and the next one was held in 2018. So if you look at these charts, you will see that these are the features that most of the submissions used to classify a word as complex or simple. So as you can see, the lexicon-based features, the semantic features, and even the frequency, these even here in not only in 2016, but also in 2018 also, these were some of the commonly used features made by these submissions. So lexical features and word frequency is what we also targeted in our study. So with regards to Hindi, there have been studies on readability of text, but we cannot use them in their entirety because they are focusing on the comprehension of a sentence as a whole, and we are focusing on the understandability of a word. And we also could not replicate many of the work done in English and a few other languages in Hindi because the resources used for English and these languages do not have an equivalent resource in Hindi. For example, they used a psycholinguistic database to get values for familiarity levels of words. We don't have such a valuable resource. We don't have that yet in Hindi. So in order to identify a word as complex, we conducted a human intelligence task. We recruited readers. So this study targeted Indians in the age group of 18 to 30 years who have studied Hindi as part of their curriculum. And we recruited 100 native and non-native speakers of the language. And each participant was required to complete 2 tasks. So what you see on the screen here is the first task where they were required to mark the word in a sentence, any word that they did not understand. And in the second task, this word and its synonyms would be displayed. And they had to now rank each and every word as either being complex, very complex, or very simple. So based on this, we extracted what all words would be difficult. So we deemed a word as difficult if it was rated as difficult, if the average ranking of the word was difficult. So we only chose those words that were rated by at least 2 people, and then we calculated the average rating. And if the average rating was 1 to 3, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it was 3 or less, then it was deemed as complex. So once we got these words, we extracted features of these words. So one of the first features that we used was the frequency of these words. And again, there was no one resource from where we could extract the frequencies. So we created our own corpus, which is the first resource. We extracted novels and stories. We scraped from websites. And there were a few other corpora that were readily available. So we used those corpora also to calculate the frequency of the word. Apart from the frequency, we extracted, I'll just show you the features first. So we extracted other frequencies such as the length, the number of syllables. All these we calculated manually. Apart from this, we got number of synonyms, number of synsets, hyponyms, etc. from the Hindi WordNet. Now, this is a short description of the data that we got. So we got approximately 68,000 words that were ranked by participants. And the final set of words that we could use, that means that were ranked by at least 2 participants and whose frequency values also we have, were 7,000. And we treated this as a classification task. Now, which classifier to choose? We chose simple classifiers, traditional classifiers such as decision tree. We also chose ensemble classifiers such as AdaBoost, Random Forest, and others.
I just wanted to let you know you have just a few more minutes
yes.
to finish your session, and then you are free to have some questions and answers as well. But I will need to pop out of here to set up the next session, but I wanted to give you a heads up on the timing.
Yes, sure. Thank you. So we also removed stop words from this data because stop words are words that do not actually carry any meaning. So we created a list of stop words and removed them, and we normalized the features. So instead of comparing unrelated words such as, for instance, delicious and table, we did not want to compare the feature values of those words. We wanted to compare feature values of delicious and tasty. So we normalized these feature values within the range of 0 to 1 by comparing a word with the values of its synonyms. And then we created our classification task. We used soft voting classification. So we used all of these these classifiers, and we used soft voting to get the final result. And these were tuned using random search. The evaluation metric that we used was AUC score. And these were the results that we got. So this is from the simple adder classifier, and this is from the random search tuned adder classifier. And finally, we use this value, which is the soft voting result based on all of these values. So this is where we are right now. Now, what we are doing currently is we're trying to understand the users. We are trying to analyze the demographics of the users, on which user found which word is complex. Instead of random search, we are now employing grid search to better tune our models. We will also be looking at word embeddings as one of the features. Till now, we have used data only from the second task. Now we also want to use data from the first task by not looking at the features, but by just treating it as a token classification task. And after complex word identification is done, we will move on to the subsequent phases, which is word sense disambiguation, identifying a synonym, and replacing the word with its suitable synonym. I have shared these slides on my GitHub link, which is here. So you can have a look at the slides and the resources that we have used. So that's all from my side. Any questions? So I have also shared my Twitter handle. Or any feedback, or if you wish to contribute, you could, of course, send me a tweet there, a DM there. So one question is, what's one learning that a layman could take for conducting user studies in the field? So one important thing that I realized is that now, since I'm working in the area of language, and since I'm working with Hindi, I realized that you cannot replicate studies in other languages in your language. For instance, in other languages, researchers recruited non-native speakers. So initially we began with that. We recruited non-native speakers, but we realized that Hindi is such a language that even if that is not your native language, you are more comfortable in the language because that is something that we speak broadly here. So always remember that the context in which you're recruiting users, it might always vary, even if you are trying to replicate. The other problem that we faced was that we can't go by one user's annotation because that could be hugely biased. So always make sure that if you are recruiting users for an annotation study, then at least this is only based on experience. At least 3 annotators should be there so that you can at least go for a majority. The application of the study, I'll just share this. So this can be used by second language learners. If you are trying to learn a language and you're reading something and you don't understand the word, you can always use this application and simplify that word. Children, if they're loaded text, they could use that to understand that text. I haven't experimented with people with dyslexia, but based on the previous studies, it has been proven that if you have dyslexia, it's easier for you to see words that are shorter, sentences that are shorter, words that are more familiar to you. So these are some of the applications. I hope I've answered your query. Thank you. So it can also be used by content creators. So if you are creating content and you know who your target audience is, we generally create content according to our vocabulary. So this could also be used in that sense. Thank you, Nia. Yes, so this does come under the category of accessibility. This comes under text accessibility. So there's another question. Can we take the code from the GitHub and use on word corpus from other languages? So the code that I have on GitHub, it is very specific to Hindi because I have mentioned a few Hindi characters that you have to count as syllables. So that is very specific to Hindi, but you can of course look at the code and look at the flow. The same flow and the same logic can. If you are looking at other languages, you can of course replace those characters with the characters in your language. I hope I've answered the question. Okay, thank you. That's all from my side. If you have any questions, I'll just, you have my email ID here and you also have the Twitter handle. You can connect with me there. Thank you.